Hello, hello, hello. Okay, just making sure everything is set up how I need it. Okay, there we are on Instagram as well. Okay, hello everyone. I am Coach Stefanie. You may have seen me here before when I was live with Coach Wendy, talking a little bit about our member meetings. Today, I'm again taking over for the Conways, and I want to talk to you a little bit about healthy habits and behavior change. Okay, let me just make sure that I can see the chat as well. Okay. If you can see me, say hello. I always love knowing who I have with me here today. I'm going to toggle back and forth between, the chat on Facebook, the chat on Instagram, the chat on YouTube. We're live everywhere. Okay. Hello, hello. I see we're having several people who are joining us. Welcome again. I'm Coach Stefanie. I'm one of the meeting leaders, and I'm really excited to be talking to you guys today about habit forming because in the end, this is the most important part of our journey, is to be able to change our habits and kind of replace the habits that don't serve us as well with those who will help us in our journey and in the long run help us not only lose the weight but also keep it off, because we don't want any of those yo-yo diets. We really want to change our lifestyle to where we will continue keeping the weight off. And the easiest way to do that is to change your habits. And the first thing that you need to think about when you're thinking about behavior change is to have a vision. So I talked to this really great person who actually wrote a whole book on how to change behaviors. And he mostly works in like corporate America. And he said, you really need to have like this vision of an end goal in mind as you are working through this behavior change. So it's not just enough to say, oh, I'm going to start drinking more water, but instead think about your future self who is fit, who is healthy, who drinks enough water, that ideal state that you are working towards. Have that picture in mind first before kind of changing your behaviors. That also goes along with your why. You really want to not only know where you're wanting to go, but also why this is important to you. And those two will be able to like kind of get you through the hard parts. Okay, hello everybody. I see the comments now. Awesome. So the first thing that I want you to think about when you're thinking about changing your behaviors is being more aware of what is going on. When are you portraying those behaviors that might not serve you as well? When are you more prone to doing the behaviors that are really good for you? For example, are you somebody who eats when you're stressed? I'm somebody who eats when I'm bored. If I'm sitting in front of the couch watching TV in the evening, I have the urge to be snacking on something. Understanding that sitting in front of the couch, being bored is something that will make me eat is the first step in trying to figure out a behavior that will serve me better. The best way I have found to do that is by keeping a journal. You can do that in the Healthy app. There's a notes section where you can type in what's going on, how are you feeling about your food, why are you eating, all of that good stuff. You can also write it into a journal. The most important part as you're doing that, though, is to keep track of patterns without judgment at the beginning, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to really dial down on the real why are you doing this. If you're like, judging yourself for having a cookie because you had a stressful day, and don't write it down because you feel bad about it, that's not going to serve you in the long run. Be honest and open with yourself of why you are doing those things. Ask yourself the hard questions, like what's really going on, and be honest with yourself, almost like a mini therapy session with yourself. I'm so sorry, Joy, to hear that the life didn't pop up until 6 minutes late. Technology being kind of weird again for me. Okay, once you have identified kind of like the behaviors that you're really struggling with, it's time to make some swaps. Usually, we recommend finding alternatives, replacing behaviors with new behaviors instead just quitting cold turkey. It's kind of the same as when you try to quit smoking. It's really hard to quit smoking cold turkey, but if you find something else that like mimics this motion like you would with a cigarette, it's generally a lot harder. That's why people who use the nicotine gum oftentimes have an easier time stopping smoking because they're replacing the behavior with something new. So think about what kind of swap you could do. So instead of, having a snack late on in the evening and maybe having chips, maybe you want to swap it out for something that's not as high in bites. One of my favorite things, because I love salty snacks in the evening, is to have some pretzel thins or some like really thin pretzels. And instead of having the whole bag with me, I will go and weigh out exactly one portion, and then sit down with that. And I'll make sure that I leave enough bites in my day that I can easily fit that in for me. But if you wanted to, stop snacking in the evening at all, you could also substitute it for a tea or some other kind of ritual that you're incorporating into your life. But don't just say, oh no, today I'm going to sit in front of the TV and do absolutely nothing when you're used to doing something and snacking while you're watching TV. Because that's a lot harder than saying, oh, today I'm going to start knitting and like knit in front of the TV. It's still going to keep your hands busy. And when your hands are busy, you can't eat. So think about those swaps that you can make that will help you in your journey. Also, use the triggers to your advantage. There's something called habit stacking, where you connect a new healthy behavior that you want to do to a behavior that you're already doing. If you've ever been in one of my meetings, I'm a big proponent of telling people that while you're brushing your teeth in the morning and the evening, try doing some squats. Try doing some light stretches. You're just standing there anyway, staring at yourself in the mirror. Use that time to your advantage to get some movement in. Other things that you can do is, every single time that you get to the office, take the stairs instead of the elevator. Anytime I was telling the girls in my meeting, maybe if you're struggling with drinking enough water and you work at an office where you get a moderate amount of emails, every time you get an email, take a sip of your water, something like that. Have a glass of water before you eat. Those kinds of habit stacking behaviors can be a really great way to remind yourself to continue doing those behaviors. They also have water bottles that already have the little light or reminders that can be another really great way for you to learn to do new behaviors, is by setting yourself those visual cues that remind you. Another great one is little sticky notes. We have some coaches that, have a sign on their fridge that says the answer isn't in here, because they need that, or they probably don't need it anymore, but they wanted that reminder that when they go to the fridge, they really use it as a tool and they don't just, open it and see and start snacking or whatever. Joy said she started chewing gum during the day, and it has really helped distract her from the thought of food when she's not really hungry. That's a really great example, Joy. Thank you for sharing. Okay, checking Instagram real quick. Awesome. Okay. Those visual reminders and cues, the grocery stores use that to their advantage too. They put the things that they want you to buy within your line of sight. If you're at a grocery store, I want you to like look around. Usually the cheapest stuff is all the way at the bottom because people don't really look down there. And the most expensive stuff, the stuff that the grocery store wants you to buy, is within eyesight. Do the same thing at home. The snacks that you don't want to eat all the time, stick those in the bottom of your cupboard. The snacks that you want to eat, like the apples, the bananas, the fruit, keep them within eyesight. Keep them on your counter. Prepare your fruits and vegetables ready to eat, and then have them on the shelf that when you open the fridge, it's the first thing that you see. My husband has ADHD, so for him, it's even worse. Like, we will buy grapes and he loves grapes, but if I stick them into one of those drawers, he will not remember that they exist, because if he can't see something, it doesn't exist for him. I might remember that we have them, but chances are, if I like prep them, put them into like a little Ziploc baggie with a paper towel and put them right front and center where he can see them, he'll eat grapes all day long. If they're in a drawer, he'll forget all about it. Make life easier for you by putting the snacks and the good things that you want to reach for within eyesight. And tuck the stuff that you don't really want to eat all that much for somewhere where you don't necessarily see it all the time. This is also a great tip if you're living with somebody who's not on the same journey as you and they want to have their chips. Stick them somewhere in the bottom where you don't necessarily see them all day, because if you don't see it, you probably won't think about it as much. Also, try using micro habits. I read this really, really great book called Micro Habits, and I forget who it is by. And the whole premise of the book was to split down your tasks into really, really tiny subtasks that are so easy to do that it would be laughable not to do it. So instead of saying, oh, every evening I want to go and read a page, and not a page, a chapter in my book, you would go, well, what do I need to do to like achieve that? Well, maybe I need to like just start by reading a page. Okay, that's doable. But maybe your micro habit is just to open the book. And there's nothing that can stop you from just taking a book and opening it. If you don't do that, you would think you're ridiculous not to be able to achieve that goal. And that's kind of the thought process behind it, is to make it so small and simple and easy that all of those, oh, I don't have time right now, I'll do it later, any excuse that you could possibly find wouldn't work on this type of behavior. So just, grabbing the book and opening it up, there's really nothing stopping you from it. And once you have it open, chances are you're going to be like, oh, well, I already have it open. Might as well read a little bit. And that way, kind of, you get over that first step that can be like the hardest part of learning a new behavior or starting a new behavior that keeps you from doing them, because it's so easy for us to find like a million excuses of why we can't do something. But if you set yourself up with a goal that is so small that it would be ridiculous not to do it, you're kind of taking that first hurdle already. Joy said one of the ways that she habit stacks is to use her hula hoop during our Zooms or Facebook Lives. She's one of our meeting members. And Linda said that she does the same thing by going for a walk during the meeting. So our members not only come to the meetings to get inspired, but they're also using that to stack their habits very successfully. And both Linda and Joy have seen great success by doing this. Joy, for example, did 85 minutes of hula hooping today. We did not have that much meetings. But still, kind of like, connecting that, if you find yourself like not using a part of your body or something, use this time wisely. Like I said, brushing your teeth is a really great time. If you have to sit in a meeting or you want to be in a meeting like our member meetings, use that time to get some movement in. Also, when we're talking about like visual cues and reminders, one of the really cool things that I read the other day is about making it a game for yourself to follow new habits. So basically, it's called game theory or gamifying your life. And it's a technique often used for people who have ADHD. And what you do in that process is you can use an app or you can do it by yourself, but you give yourself like points or stars or something for doing the behaviors that you want. And then you kind of create a little reward system. Once you hit X amount of stars, you reward yourself with something, preferably not food, but like, a new candle or stuff like that. And that can also help trick your brain into feeling like you're rewarding yourself, especially people with ADHD. They're very dopamine driven. And that's why this technique works really, really well for them, because every single time they earn stars by doing habits, it releases dopamine in your brain and then encourages you to continue following this good behavior. And then on top of that, the reward is something to kind of like strive for. So it's another really great way to change your behaviors. And then remember when I talked about kind of seeing that person that you want to be in your mind before getting started? Start shifting your identity to being that type of person can be a really great psychological trick. Don't be the person that, oh, I have to drink more water. But instead, think of yourself as the person who drinks 8 glasses of water every single day. Change your identity to be that of the person that you want to be. Instead of thinking of that person as like somebody in the future, think of that person as yourself. Don't think of yourself as the person who's constantly trying to lose weight, or the person that diets, or the person that's always struggled with your weight. Think of yourself as the person that makes healthy choices. Think of yourself as the person who portrays these behaviors that this ideal version of you is already doing. And by shifting your mindset to doing that, it helps you think of it more as like something you're already doing than something that you just have to kind of suffer through. I think in this whole journey of trying to lose weight or live healthier, sometimes we kind of get stuck in this belief that we just have to make it to the end line. We just have to suffer through until we have finally lost the weight, and then we can finally be ourselves again. If you have that belief, you are likely somebody that experiences yo-yo dieting, because if you just eat your fruits and vegetables and drink your water and, um, watch your portion sizes until you get to X weight, and then you stop doing all of those behaviors, the pounds are going to come back onto your hips, your tummy, wherever. You will like go back to your old behaviors. And those old behaviors are the things that very likely caused you to have those like weight issues or have the weight that you had before. But if you change your mindset to the person who eats, their 5, 6 servings of fruits and vegetables, who drinks their 8 glasses of water, who makes the good choices, who watches their portion sizes, if that becomes a part of you, then even once you reach your ideal weight or whatever weight you want to be at, it will be easy for you to stick to that. And that is the secret to long-term success, is to really ingrain those behaviors in you, not just make it something that you're enduring to get to an endpoint, but really making it a part of yourself. Okay, anybody have any questions around changing your habits? Let me check my notes and make sure that I covered everything that I wanted to cover. Yep, I sure did. Linda said, yes, they will if you quit. Yep, absolutely. And again, as you're forming those new habits, give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up over, making a mistake, because that's all part of how you grow, how you learn. And it goes back to that awareness part. You cannot change your behaviors if you're not aware of it. And to become aware of it, sometimes you have to fail, quote unquote. You have to, go to the family dinner with a plan, and then somebody shows up with your favorite chocolate cake and you didn't plan on it, and you end up eating the chocolate cake anyways. That situation gives you so much information of how you're reacting, your patterns, that looking at it as like a blessing for you to then be able to, draw conclusions about like, what can you do differently in the future? Is it saying no to the chocolate, your favorite chocolate cake? Probably not. At least that wouldn't be for me. But I might say, I might share a piece of chocolate cake with so and so. Or I might eat half a piece of chocolate cake and take the other half home and enjoy a little bit more tomorrow. And instead, I'm not going to eat whatever else dessert I had planned to eat, or something, like make changes to some of the other things that I plan to eat. This gives me information. And the same thing with, like, the number on the scale. It's all just information that helps kind of guide you into what behaviors work and what behaviors don't work for you. Linda says she has failed many times, but she has learned over time. And that's really the only way to be consistent in that. If you are somebody who messes up and then says, oh, well, now this day I've already messed up, I can eat whatever I want today. And then the next day you wake up and you're like, I already messed up yesterday. Doesn't matter what I'm eating today. And then you do that for the rest of the week. And then you're like, ugh, now I've already blown it anyways. Might as well continue eating whatever I want to, instead of like tracking and following the plan. Within no time, you'll be there 4 months later, you've gained all the weight, and you're going to wonder what happened. Instead, give yourself grace. Say, this happened. Let's think about why it happened and how I can have a plan for the future to avoid the same thing happening again. And then I'm smarter, I'm more prepared, and I can tackle this or try something else the next time around. And if you do that and then get right back to it the next day, messing up that one time is not going to have a big influence on your journey whatsoever. If you look at the grand scheme of things, the rest of your life, gaining like a pound or 2 pounds because you had a piece of chocolate cake, or 2 or 3, I'm not judging, is not going to be the end of the world. But giving up and beating yourself up over not following those behavior changes, that will indeed make it worse for you. Liddell on Instagram also says tracking for her is a must, even when a high bite day. Yeah, absolutely. And then, keep track not only of the high bite days, but also ask yourself those questions like, why did I go overboard? Was I out and about and those were my only choices? Then maybe for the future, think about, having a list of restaurants that you have go-to meals. When me and my family, if we go out to eat, I know different meals from like the places that we tend to go to that I know I can generally make work within my day. And then I don't have to sit there and like scramble and figure out like, what can I eat? Especially because in those situations, I'm usually starving. I want to eat the whole menu. I don't care. If I already know what good choices are, I don't even need to look at the menu. I just go for that. And it makes it a little bit less stressful for me, and makes eating out more enjoyable for me. So yeah, tracking is, I think, at the core of this whole journey, and understanding why you are portraying those behaviors can then give you the information to make better choices in the future. I was just about to say something, and then, of course, my mind blinked. on what I wanted to say. But that is okay. Again, I'm going to also give myself grace because it is late in the day for me. It's almost 9 p.m. So I'm going to give myself grace. And if I remember it here in the next few minutes, I will tell you. And if not, that is also fine. Anybody have any other questions for me that you would like me to answer when it comes to changing your behaviors? Oh, I was going to say, try not changing your whole life in one go. Try focusing on like one or two behavior at a time, because going from 0 to 100 is generally too overwhelming. So don't go out tomorrow and try to like drink 8 glasses of water and exercise every single day. And even though, we said like micro habits, maybe say, oh, I'm going to like drink an extra glass of water and before every meal, and then I'm just going to, walk for 5 minutes. Don't try to do it all at once because that can become too much as well. Try to focus on one or two behaviors a week. If you're just starting out, maybe just one behavior and really like dial down on that behavior. And some behaviors are a little bit harder to kind of like get the hang of. If that's the case, stick to just one behavior. If they're like smaller ones and you feel pretty comfortable making that change, you can do 2 behaviors at a time. But don't try changing everything at once, so that you don't overwhelm yourself, because too many tiny things also make a big thing. So that was the one thing that I wanted to say. Okay, with that, we are at 9 p.m. and I know we usually try to keep these at around half an hour. I hope there were some helpful tips and tricks in here for you to kind of recap, to be able to change your behavior. There are several really great things that you can do. I always recommend having a vision in mind for the person that you want to be in the future. That person should also relate to your why. That is really the center around everything. And then as you're changing your behaviors, start with awareness. Why are you portraying those behaviors? What are your triggers? Replace the behaviors with a behavior that serves you better instead of just quitting cold turkey. Using your triggers to your advantage, the habit stacking that we're talking about, connecting one behavior to another one that you're already doing. Make them micro habits so they're so teeny tiny that there's no reason for you to say no. Use visual reminders like sticky notes to encourage you to keep doing your behavior. Get a water bottle that, lights up, those good things. And then set your environment up for success by putting the things that you want to eat within where you can see them. Put your shoes by the door, those kinds of things. Okay, thank you everybody so much for joining. Lily Path said she fell off the healthy choices 4 weeks ago and she has gained weight and is sad. She wants to know how to deal with the sadness or frustration, understanding that it is just part of the journey. And nobody that learned a new skill ever had a straight path. Everybody failed at one point or another. Use this as an opportunity to think about, why did you fall off the wagon? Why did you stop doing those healthy choices? Was there anything that you could have controlled or done differently to avoid kind of going off for 4 weeks? And understand that even though you gained weight back, that doesn't mean that you can't lose that weight again. Start right now going back to those healthy habits, and that weight will come right back off. I personally, and this is not backed by science, in my personal experience, I have found that those like 2, 3, 5 pounds that you just gained tend to come off a lot faster and easier than the 15 pounds that you've been carrying around with you for a while. So I always remind myself of that as a motivator, that, those like couple of pounds that you gained in the last 4 weeks are probably also pounds that are going to come off a little bit quicker than the ones that have been on your body for years and years. So I hope that helps. Okay, thank you everybody so much for joining me. I really loved filling in for the Conways. And yeah, Shelly also says, one day at a time, we're all human. This is for life. Don't beat yourself up. You can do it. And Kay says, you have to fail to succeed. Exactly. Take, star athletes, for example. They didn't just practice their sport and never failed. They fail all the time. It's part of learning the sport. It's part of becoming an expert in it. Why wouldn't you see it for yourself in this journey? And always think of yourself as somebody else. So, in our meetings, if somebody fails, other people are always super quick to jump in and be like, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. It happens to everybody. Like, we're all super encouraging when it comes to somebody else. But sometimes we fail to give ourselves that same grace. So I always recommend that if you're really struggling mentally, think of yourself as another person. What are the recommendations you would give somebody else in your same position? What would you say to your best friend if your best friend told you what happened to you? And then take that advice. Don't take the advice of the little devil on your shoulder that says, oh, you can't do it anyways. Take the advice of yourself as your best friend. Eileen said, can you watch a replay of this? Yes. On Facebook, it should stay on this page and you can watch it later. On Instagram, I think it goes away. On YouTube, I am not sure, but I see you're on Facebook, so it should still be there. Okay, awesome. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. For those of you who are joining the member meetings, I hope I see you in a meeting soon. For those of you who do not join our member meetings, why not? Come join us. We have a great community. If you want more of this, if you want to see more of my face, come join us. If not, the Conways will be back next week for their life here on the Healthy page and to give you encouragement